So we are going live. Welcome everyone to another thrilling week here in the John Lavenia Success Mastermind. I am here with a couple of my favorite people from across the pond. There's Eggo, there's Suzanne, and I'm sure more people are tuning in as we speak. Also, welcome to our friends who tune in via YouTube. I know we've got a lot of people who watch the replays, time schedules and time at the beach with the family and the lake and everything else, summertime. But I am glad to be here with you. I, of course, am John Lavenia. I've got a couple of announcements and then we're going to dig right in. One announcement I'm going to make here is that today we are not having e-commerce work group. So Emma and Neil are taking the week off. They are doing something else and they will be back here with us next week for more thrills and excitement with e-commerce. But because I never take any time off ever for any reason, I am going to be here with everyone on our book study group tonight, where we're going to be covering 3 more chapters of Raymond Hollowell's classic, Working with the Law. Which chapters will be on here this week? The Law of Increase. This is really good stuff, by the way. I've had some great feedback from people who have been following along with this. So we've already covered the Law of Thinking, Supply, Attraction, Receiving. So tonight we're covering the Law of Increase, the Law of Compensation, and the Law of Non-Resistance. For anyone who hasn't read this book yet, Hollowell sought ways to apply Christian philosophy into common life and, prosperity and all the things that some people recognized or didn't recognize if they've studied, things like the Bible and stuff like that. So really amazing book, very usable, lots of food for action there. Working with the Law. What's coming up for me today, and it's an idea that I got just an hour ago when I was pumping iron. It's actually a question. What's it worth? What's it worth? This is a question that I think as entrepreneurs, because obviously we've all got some entrepreneurial spirit here. We're all looking to cause things to be, do, and have more in our own lives and to create value for ourselves and for others. There's a question that comes up a lot, or an evaluation that comes up a lot, whether we're conscious of it or not. And that is evaluation itself. What is something worth? We go throughout our day. I could speak for myself. I go throughout my day and I'm evaluating what things are worth a lot. This is one way that we add meaning to things, right? So what would it mean for me to exchange, let's say, this certain amount of money for this product or service or whatever I'm considering, including on my path here? I'm going to have that experience of owning that product or using that service or whatever it is. What's it worth? What am I willing to exchange for that? So this is a question that obviously any customer, and we're all customers of something, right? Any customer asks themselves, whether they vocalize it or not, they ask themselves this throughout the day. But I was thinking of it more subtly. Okay. What's it worth if we turned that back on ourselves? If we asked ourselves, in other words, if we looked in the mirror and said, what's that worth talking about us? And I thought, oh, that's interesting. What am I worth? Another way to ask this is, am I worthy? Am I worthy? Worth, worthiness, worthy, evaluations. What's the value of that thing? What's my value? Oh, and you know what? Throughout much of my life, I think I've undervalued myself. Think of a typical poverty consciousness person going through life. They work their 9-to-5 job, they punch the clock, they make enough money to pay the bills and pretty much not much more. And they show up, they walk past the restaurant with the host standing out there, the maitre d' or whatever it's called, right? And there's the beautiful menu laid out on the front steps to come in, so you can see what the chef has prepared for the night. And then you could see, the prices as well, right? And they, market value for the lobster. I wonder what that costs, right? Yeah, that's for other people. That's for other people. And they keep walking. And look, again, much of my life in growing up in a state of, lack, limitation, what we could call poverty consciousness, that was the reality in that environment that I was in. There were those, rare people that show up at those fancy restaurants. What about something else? a car or something. I mean, who needs a nice car anyway? It's just point A to point B. You know what? My car gets me to the destination just as much as the Lamborghini. Actually, your car probably gets you there better than a Lamborghini. They're not comfortable. They're very fragile. Nice to look at, not fun to drive. But who needs all that? I mean, how ostentatious that someone would, spend $250,000 on a car that is better to be just looked at and put as a museum piece than actually drive on these bumpy roads. Okay. So the underlying consideration with all that, I'm not arguing that everyone should go out and spend money on Lamborghinis. Personally, I'm over it. I'm not interested. Okay. But the idea that you could be not worth it, that's an interesting consideration, because a lot of times when people set goals, they set goals, if they do at all, they set goals based on what they think they could accomplish, which is based on what they already know, which is who they were yesterday, which is the past, which really sets no precedent. I mean, the future does not equal the past unless, if nothing changes, nothing changes. And so that's what we do. We keep playing the same damn videotape over and over and over again. It's not thinking. In fact, it's thought avoidance. Okay. It's just, this is familiar. This is common. This is easily believable by me. I don't have to think so much. So we'll get the Ford Pinto. They even make Ford Pintos anymore? No, they haven't made those in a long time. Okay. So we'll concede, right? We'll live a life of concession. But what is that really saying? That's really saying that I am not worthy, and you can own this or not. But what that means for me is that I'm not worthy of reaching higher. A question of worthiness comes up again and again for the person who is considering, and I've done this several times, okay, considering, could I reach at a whole new level? Are my goals worthy of me? Rather than me asking, am I worthy of my goals, right? Assuming I have goals, okay? Am I worthy of that house, that nice car, and these are just physical, representations of abundance, okay, of opulence. I like that word, opulence. Look it up. It's nice, opulent lifestyle. That doesn't mean braggadocious or ostentatious or anything like that, but plenty and refinement, prosperity, right? In a good state. Am I worthy of that? And can I start seeing myself in that position with that opulence? Can I see myself not walking past the maitre d' because the menu's got some bigger numbers on it than what I was accustomed to growing up? And look, this stuff gets, and wherever you come from in terms of your past, okay, but this stuff can get burned in like a paradigm, right? Habitually, mom and dad or whoever, drilled into my brain that, that's for other people. That's not for us. Right. So that may be a tape that's playing in my mind. So I've got to be conscious of that and see how maybe I've undervalued myself, because look, they're building Lamborghinis and nice menus and opulent houses and everything else for somebody. For you, I guess you could answer that question. And so this whole idea of self-denial or undervaluing ourselves has been on my mind, because I get to work with a lot of new entrepreneurs. I think everyone here knows, in my consulting work, right? I get to work with a lot of people who are engaging in free enterprise for the first time. They are displaced from their job due to whatever reason, or they are just dissatisfied and probably have been for a long time. But now they're finally willing to do something about it. Right? They're finally willing to reach higher, to cause something to occur. But if the same person who showed up, in a life of concession, right? If that same person shows up now in a field of abundant opportunity, they will continue habitually to concede. So what we must do, I think, is have a bit of a transformation, a reevaluation, if you will, reevaluation. Since I'm evaluating stuff all the time, what's this worth? What's that not worth? What am I worth? What am I not worth? It's time to consciously reevaluate what I'm worth. And I say that in present time, not just in retrospect. Okay. I say that in present time because look, all of us, and psychologists have argued this, but the consensus is that we're operating at about 10% of our potential. Mm-hmm. So what does that mean? And I don't know if you're with that idea, but all right. So let's just try it on for a second. But hold on a second, John. I mean, I'm working my ass off, right? I'm giving it my all. Okay. Well, are you worth recognizing other leverage points, other combinations, things that you could do to advance yourself, not in a linear fashion, but exponentially, but with leverage, right? Where you could have greater combinations and more recompense for the time allotted. That's another thing that people who feel like that their time is worth something, that's another thing that they consider. And again, going back to my past, habitually, the paradigm was money's worth everything. Time, we'll piss that away like we're immortal, right? What's on TV? See that? So what is my time worth? Nothing. But these dollars, oh, my precious. Yeah. Can we reevaluate that? Can we reevaluate our relationship with time, money, stuff, our work, right? How are we spending our time, right? You spend a lot of your time and hopefully an on-purpose action. I was just talking to my friend Eggo just before we went live. I basically didn't have a weekend. We've got a lot of on-purpose action going on here. You strike while the iron's hot. Right now, the iron is way hot. We've got so much going on. And plus my wife is traveling. I had to pick up the slack on some stuff. Now, did I suffer through that? Well, I was a little out of balance. Okay. I moved the boundaries a little bit here and, made allotments because it wasn't just my time that I was allotting. It was also in service of people who could really use the service right now. So I'm going above and beyond. And look, that's not every weekend. But the idea here is that I reevaluated stuff. And so I put myself in a position to serve at a higher level, new combinations, new people. And these are things that just based on, and I'm not going to get into the weeds with, business models and everything else, but these are things that will continue to pay exponentially higher, having planted the roots. So I wouldn't have chosen to do that had I not evaluated or reevaluated what's this day worth to me and to the people I'm attempting to serve. This day is worth a lot. So we're going to go ahead and move the schedule around. And that's just what we're going to do. And you know what? Now it's done. It's done. So I'm thinking for all of us, if we just reevaluate, not only, what's stuff worth, okay? In fact, I gave an example, was it last week, where I cleaned out some old stuff out of my clothing closet, which apparently was worth a lot to somebody because I made like $1,000 on eBay in like an hour and wound up just buying the watch that I've been looking at for 2 years, which I was so reluctant to buy. I'm like, it's stuff. I don't need more stuff. How much stuff? But I got rid of all this stuff. And so I got this stuff right here. It's nice stuff. I like my stuff. Okay, fine. So I'm worth it. But that's just one example. What's it worth? That's the question for today. And then that goes in both directions. What's that worth and what's that worth, right? And if we can be conscious of that, I think we can come up with perhaps some new answers and create some new combinations and perhaps leverage our most precious assets, right? And of course, number one being time and how we spend our attention. And you will spend it every day. What do you guys think about this? I'd love to open it up. I've been talking 14 minutes already. Look at that. Any thoughts on this? I know we've got a few scholarly people here who probably have some things to say. If you'd like to come on out, be my guest. I'd love to hear from you. And of course, we have one of my favorite people on the planet, Eggo. Hi, Eggo.
Hey, hi. Good to be here today. Good to see everyone. It's interesting you talk about what it's worth. I think it's something that, we have to be thinking about every time, all day, every day, right? Because it starts with, our time. And for me, I've always maintained that my time is my most precious asset. So I choose to either spend, invest, or waste it wisely, right? So when we think about what it's worth, we have to know what we're worth. Because if we don't know what we're worth, then we don't know what value we're bringing to others. So if I'm providing a service or a product, if I don't believe that through my efforts, like points of difference, if it's e-commerce, for example, or even a service, if I don't believe that what I'm bringing to the table or what I'm adding to this thing is of value, then how can I don't need to convince, how can I comfortably and confidently sell this thing, this service or this product to somebody else? And I think a number of, for some people, by virtue of maybe what they've been fed, their their upbringing affects how, what they've been told, the lie they've been told, the limiting beliefs. We've covered this, right? Limiting beliefs, these things that have been planted in them whilst they were young, they carry that into adulthood. So they lose sight of who they really are or what they can actually do. And, the danger of this is if we don't know who we are, if we don't know our worth, we allow others to define it. We allow others to place labels on us. And then we believe that even as adults. So, like I read, I think it was yesterday or maybe the day before, I saw something that said, if you walk into a room and there's no chair for you or there isn't a place for you, right? So as the woman, or, you show up late, right? And there's no chair. If you notice that happens a lot, then walk around with a folding chair. I mean, not literally, but, if you notice that this is a regular occurrence, then walk around with a folding chair. As soon as you get to this meeting, this place, unfold your chair and sit down. So it's knowing that, okay, they haven't made allowances for me, or they don't place value on me. Otherwise, there'd be a chair for me. But if I know my worth, I know I deserve to be there, I know I can bring value to the discussion, I just bring my chair along. So I think we have to, really think about when we don't know our value, we really need to firstly think about the source. Where's it coming from? Is it, something that's happening, childhood, or did I just lose my way? So we have to be consciously thinking about what value do I bring and what am I worth? So certain engagements, if we know what we're worth, certain engagements we wouldn't take on because it's not really worth, you're not too big for it. It's just not worth your time. Right. So yeah, that's really what's top of mind. But I think this is an amazing topic. It's something that's front and center for me all the time.
Right. Yeah. Because you're conscious, right? You're actually observing and evaluating, what's it worth? And so there's an opportunity cost to everything. If I say yes to this, I've got to say no to that. But the other thing that Eggo just brought up is being observant of or mindful of, how others value your time or your presence or your contribution. Look, if we have a job, let's say, where we never get any recognition or no appreciation, right? Even if the money is, you're paying the bills, you're probably going to be looking for another job. If I ignored, let's say, a relationship, right? If I gave no attention or validation to that friend, that family member, whatever, they get more distant, right? With that which we ignore takes flight. So in this way, Eggo is asserting her causation in that. I'll bring my folding chair, metaphorically speaking. Okay, I'll make that place in there if that's where I know I'm supposed to be. The other thing that Eggo touched on, which I went down a little rabbit hole here with, was the idea that if we're not willing to buy, how can we expect others to? In other words, and I've heard this is kind of I suppose a cheeky thing to say, but a cynic is a person who knows the cost of everything and the value of nothing. I don't know if that holds water. but whatever. A cynic by definition is one who just thinks everyone's for themselves. Okay, including themselves. So with that sort of a mindset, right, we could see, or we could devalue or invalidate the some really awesome stuff, right, that may be of great worth to us, or may be of great worth to others, as well, because we're always so reticent. We could be so resistant to things like, cooperation or having our place in that space. And look, there's a cost to everything, right? We talked about opportunity cost. When I think about people, and I've done this myself, that have held themselves back because they don't recognize value, they don't know what stuff is worth, cynicism, right, and all of that. I think about all the missed opportunity that I have. Now, on the other hand, there's a saying in the sales world that salespeople are the easiest people to sell. That could be true, because what? We're all about exchange, right? We're all about, this is great stuff. Buy this. Oh, you got some great stuff. Yeah, let me buy that. So I don't know, again, if that holds water, but you could see the flow. I guess what we're talking about here, and also what Eggo touched on, the idea that came up for me was flow. She's flowing into that space, and it's right for her to be there. Or I'm flowing into this transaction, and it's right for me to transact. Okay, rather than a stop where my precious, right, I'm clinging, right, and stopping the flow. We've got to get in the flow. And so I think part of what allows me to get in the flow, in the right flows, in the right direction, is having proper ability to evaluate the importance or non-importance, or the worth or non-worth of this or that, or me, or any of that. In other words, to have an accurate assessment, to survey the scene, and to be able to make decisions based on good data, right, allows me to flow better and not be so damn stopped or in a state of indecision and confusion. All of this comes down to what we value. It touches it. I mean, that's not the only determinant, but it touches every decision I make. What do I value? What's it worth? It touches every decision I make. And certainly when we look at if we actually wrote down our values, right? This is kind of a Steve Covey-ish thing to do, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And values are different than goals. Okay. But if we talk about our values, and these are things that we've decided. So it's subjective. It's not objective. But these are things that I value, right? Truth, integrity, strength, confidence, humility, right? These are we could say attributes or values or virtues. Okay, well, I'm going to base decisions on those things. Other people could give a damn about integrity. Screw your neighbor. And that's where I think the tendency for some people to be cynical can come in, because we can observe that just as well. It's easily observable. All right. So what's my role in all this? My role in this is to demonstrate my values and to have integrity to them. Any other people who want to come on out? I'm inspired by what we're talking about here today. Okay, I see Virginia in the chat there. Cynic, yeah, CYNIC, yeah, that's it. You got it. Describing, okay, family member. Okay, good. Oh, say it again, please. In fact, Virginia, you can come out here. I don't read and talk at the same time. But somebody said it's a cynic is someone who knows the cost of everything and the value of nothing. So that's not textbook definition or anything, but Virginia, your thoughts?
It was so crystal when you said that. I'm right. Knows the cost of everything and the value of nothing. And we don't know who made up that quote or who said that. Nothing.
I don't know, but
you just now.
Yeah.
We'll attribute it to you.
Oh, okay. Well, here in the dictionary, it says a person who believes that people are motivated purely by self-interest rather than acting for honorable or unselfish reasons. Some cynics thought that the controversy was all a publicity stunt. Second definition, a person who questions whether something will happen or whether it is worthwhile. The cynics were silenced when the factory opened.
So what is that when it says you start at this point and just a little spread and you end up over here? Those, you get off course just a little bit and you end up over here.
A diversion or a disparity?
Yeah, you keep getting worse and worse. I mean, a plane could be just off by what, 1 degree and end up in a totally wrong location because it just keeps going out. So I feel that I have someone in my family that is so cynical. I just forget how they are that bad. I'm like, how did you get this way? Because of that little course, but they're going to get what they expect. Like in Working with the Law, the book that we are, reading now. So if they are expecting this, okay, maybe when the factory opens, they'll be silenced, but they will draw into their life more reasons to keep believing that. Instead of drawing into their life, what is the opposite of cynicism? I don't know, being more accepting, being more aware of the possibilities that things are indeed what they say they are, and that there is good value, not only in what you're looking at, but in yourself to receive that. There's value in your worth. So anyway.
Thank you, Virginia.
That's all my scanner still doesn't work, but I will get that to you probably today.
Okay, very good.
Thank
well,
you.
You're talking about divergence from a set course, right? Or how the over distance, right? We go further and further off target. In fact, you're going to be learning about that like for real. One millimeter off here is like a foot off over there, right? So you're going to be learning about that. But the idea that we could correct course, I think, and this is, I don't know how applicable this is to people who are in the thick of it and who don't recognize it. But if we've suffered enough, like if I've been off course enough, and I have been at times in my life where I've had to stop and say, look, my best thinking sucks. All right. So enough with my most cherished beliefs that are getting me exactly in the wrong place. And let me just learn something. I think to correct course, we've got to admit that we don't know, because the surest way to learn nothing is to think you already know. And a man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still. Okay. So I can't convince you of what this is worth or of what you're worth, right? Because we're looking in both directions now, if you're not willing to look. And so, and people will sometimes cling to some of the most bizarre stuff. It doesn't have to make sense, doesn't have to be true. It just has to fit with their expectation. And as Virginia just said, you get what you expect. Be careful with that.
When I took the nursing exam, which is called NCLEX here in the States, it's very, very scary. And it makes or breaks whether or not you get your nursing license. And it's based on some kind of matrix line. So the more answers that you get correct, the computer puts you like over here, okay, you're getting so many right. And the anticipation is that you will continue to get a percentage right. And if that percentage is high enough to pass, the test will stop.
Oh.
And then you don't know, okay, I only did like 75 questions, there's 200. I either did really, really well, or I did so bad that there's no way you're going to get back on course.
Oh, wow.
So that's how the test gives you, okay, so you overgid, but then you got this one wrong. And then after time, based if you have enough positive answers, like I said, you passed. First, the likelihood is you will continue to get 80% of them right, 90% of them right, whatever. Why keep testing you? And then the likelihood that if you got so many wrong, you're going to continue to get that percentage wrong. This test can stop. So you don't really know until days later that I do. And mine stopped. And it was like, okay, I either did really well or I screwed up so bad there was no way to get back on course.
And you really didn't know?
No, you don't know that day. You have to.
No, but I mean, you didn't know. Did you know your material well enough that you were confident?
I figured that I had done well enough, but I was surprised that I did well enough for the test to stop.
Wow. You see, I think that's interesting because we're talking about potentially a life and death scenario. I would say if I was administering that particular test, it would be 100%, nothing less gets a pass. Everything else is flunk, 100%. That would be, I'm pretty extreme like that. But I also hold myself to those standards when it comes to, I think nursing's pretty serious, right? But in your case, I mean, you're a smart person. I would think that you had enough confidence because you've done enough study that, I mean, you want to do good work, right? You're not just trying to
Right.
do the minimum or something. So yeah, that's interesting to me, Virginia. Thank you for relating that. I've never taken that nursing test, so I have no idea about that.
I imagine that there are other tests matrices that do the same thing. Once you get to a certain point, you get to a point here of no return, you're never going to get back. If you have that many negative answers, you're going to continue to have that percentage. You're going to continue to fail. You're not going to all of a sudden know the answers because they keep mixing them all up and
Right.
repeating the same things in different ways. But yeah.
Very good. Thank you, Virginia. See
Thank
you,
you.
Gail. Gail's got to run. All right. Well, thank you for that enlightening excerpt. That's great. Anybody else? Any other thoughts today on what's it worth? What are you worth? Any other thoughts? Okay. So then what we're going to do, Edward?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. How you doing?
I'm awesome. I'm worth a lot. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. No doubt. What comes up for me in this discussion is gratitude, because you have to think about the chance you have, the opportunity you have, and like you said, the opportunity cost. In my business, I see a lot of negativity, and this morning we talked about delivering people's checks. Why? Because of events that caused those checks to be printed. And what was that event? Somebody is no longer with us. So basically what I'm saying is that how many people out there don't get the opportunity, don't get the consideration, don't get the chance to do it all over again, because every day is another do it all over again. Every day is another opportunity. I mean, later this afternoon is another opportunity. So, it's about, like you said, the precious, because time is the precious. And we have to really look at it like that, because, business is one thing, but your life is another. And, when you make them one, then you have victory over so many different things. I'm just pleased to know that, you can reestablish where you want to be and reestablish your value, reestablish your goals, reestablish your, as you say, your principles, because it's a do-over. You get a chance to do over. It's gratitude that you have an opportunity to do over. Because think about it, you have your health, you have your vision, you can walk, you can talk. I mean, that can change like that, So the probability of being where you are right now, is it high or is it low? I have a brother. He was 51 years old. He passed away, and that was in 2019. I mean, and he didn't get an opportunity to reset anymore past, January 26, 2019. So all I can say is that we have an opportunity, everybody. We have an opportunity to look inward and to really tell the truth. Because, like we learned a long time ago, the worst lie you can tell is a lie you tell to yourself. So the evaluation you're talking about today is right on point. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, brother. Glad you're here. Gratitude for even our ability to make these evaluations, right? And to do it with honest self-appraisal, with humility. Wow. Beautiful stuff. Thank you, Edward. All right. Any other thoughts on this awesome topic? Because we're going to have our discussion tonight. For those of you who are tuning into the book club, by the way, guests are welcome. So jlsuccessmastermind.com/books. They can sign up for the book club because we do that publicly now. And then, of course, we also have tomorrow, just so you guys know, in addition to our general session with, I believe, we're going to have, we had Adrian last week, so we're going to have Ivier Barnabas out here tomorrow. So tune in for that. Always a thrill with Ivier. And we got lots of other stuff coming up in the coming weeks. Next week, we're going to have the return of Books for Britain. I see Mandy here with us, so that's exciting. We got Life and Business Tools this week with Adrian, Networking Magic with Glenn. So we're going to have a busy Wednesday. And then on Thursday, I believe we're going to have Brand Builder. I got to check with Shannon because I know she's traveling right now. So anyway, lots of great stuff coming up. I will see you all in the coming days. And if anyone needs anything from me, you know how to